Last week, I knew what I was doing was wrong. I betrayed my beloved Hawkeyes, just have a better chance of emerging victorious. This time,
I'll be actually picking against Iowa.
I knew they were upset with me. They called me a traitor.
You agreeing that we just don't talk to Cole for a week?
Yeah, I'm down.
And at first, I thought it was all out of good fun. I now realize I had won, but at what cost?
Welcome into Before the Kickoff, the Daily Iowans weekly pregame show and your number one source for Hawkeye football. I'm Colin Carruthers.
And I'm Elise Gann. We're going to break down everything you need to know before the kickoff.
Elise, I'm glad to be back with you here because I needed some support after this weekend.
I don't know how much support I'm going to be, Colin, because I need some as well. We're both in trouble.
I know, and just for a refresh, unfortunately, for those that know what we're talking about, we're going to look back on it. But for those that don't know, let's take a look back at that Iowa-Oregon game. Iowa versus Oregon, a top 25 matchup in Kickoff Stadium. You see the side there of Mark Gronowski's helmet. It's the American flag Tiger Hawk logo as they were celebrating Veterans Day this past weekend in the stadium. You see the back of that kid's jacket. You realize it was a rainy, slippery game, and that proved early. A botched snap on a punt attempt, an early safety for Oregon. Look at that duck there celebrating. He was having a ball of a time early, but it was Oregon trying to break out to a really great lead early on. But Deshaun Lee with other plans, an interception turns it right back into Iowa's favor. Doesn't break out the lead too much for Oregon, though eventually they would make it a 9-0 ball game with this rushing touchdown. So they've got a great lead. They're playing solidified in a very hostile environment. That's when Mark Gronowski realizes the environment's behind him. He throws a passing touchdown of his own, making it 9-7. Iowa fans are feeling that energy with it. But it'll be Oregon with the last say in the first half, taking this field goal to end the first half of play, and they come right back out in the second half with the first punch. Another field goal there as well. That makes it 15-7 in Oregon's favor. An 8-score game. Iowa's got to turn it up a notch if they want to beat the number 9 team in the country. So it's a school record field goal there from Drew Stevens, putting Iowa in striking distance. That's when the final drive of the game. Mark Gronowski, Iowa pushing, ruling themselves with third down conversions, fourth down conversions to set themselves up potentially for a spot for the college football playoffs if they win this game. Dan Lanning trying to set his team up in position, but it wouldn't be enough for this moment of euphoria. However, it was short-lived for these Iowa fans as Dante Moore, quarterback for the Ducks, put on the most stellar performance of the entire season for him, brings in his kicker to scoring situation, and there it is, the game winner for the Oregon Ducks. They absolutely ruined all the dreams of the fans ready to rush the field in Kickoff Stadium, an 18-16 win for Oregon. Well, at least I can't imagine a more difficult way to lose your third game of the season with all the hype, the expectations, and right snapped away last minutes.
I mean, I was right there. I was on that field, soaking wet, but I was ready. I was ready to run, Colin. But even though it was a big heartbreaker, we can't keep focusing on the past. All we can do is move forward.
Absolutely. Just got to keep pushing forward, whether it's just us, the team, the fans in general. So we'll continue that way here on BTK and send it over to Morgan Burhans in the newsroom with some updates on the team.
I, like all of us, am still heartbroken after last weekend's loss, but we need to move forward because Iowa faces another tough test this weekend. This is Iowa's first game at the Coliseum since 1976. And we all know Iowa is strong defensively as they have earned themselves a top 4 spot in national ranking. But USC is 7th in the nation at scoring and a whopping 2nd in total offense. The burning question is, can Iowa play well on all 3 phases and finally pull off a signature win against a ranked opponent? You guys will see our predictions later, but now let's talk injuries. Iowa continues to stay on a pretty healthy track. Running back Terrell Washington Jr. is deemed questionable with an undisclosed injury. The backup has missed the last 3 games for the Hawks. After having some hope for a return last week, linebacker Jaden Harrell is still questionable for the game against USC. Harrell has now missed the last 3 games for the Hawks, and boy, are we hoping for a return soon. Offensive lineman Lucas Algayer is questionable for the game with undisclosed injuries, while wide receiver Jarrett Bowie and tight end Addison Ostrenga will remain out against USC. Now that's all I have. Back to you guys in the studio.
Well, as already said, difficult loss for the Hawks against Oregon, but the season's not over, Colin.
No, still plenty to play for, including a potential 10-win season. And it seems that the players are already taking that to heart.
It still means so much to go out there and win. You know, we're competitors. That's what you want to do. And, you know, if you just go out there because, you know, we can't make the playoffs or whatever it is and don't want to win, then you're not a competitor at all. You're a coward.
It's going to be a very difficult matchup for Iowa this weekend. This is a very good USC team. They're ranked 17th in the country, coming off another solid win.
That they are, and they're coming off a 21-point win at home against Northwestern to move their record to 7-2. They're led by head coach Lincoln Riley, who's in his 4th season with the Trojans and received praise from Kirk Ferentz this week.
He's a noted offensive coach and he's had great success no matter where he's gone in that regard.
Well, obviously this is a tough game for anyone, but especially for the Hawks and this being on the road and on the West Coast as well.
Yeah, Colin, if you look back a season ago, Iowa went to Los Angeles to face UCLA. The Bruins opened that game as a 6.5 underdog, but ended up snagging a 20-17 victory. It's important to remember this outcome when thinking about going west again, and Kirk Ferentz opened up about what went wrong in that game at Rose Bowl Stadium.
I just didn't think we were ready mentally against UCLA last year in the run game, and probably some other areas too, where we left some things out there. So to me, it was more about our approach going into that game than it was where it got played or who we were playing.
But still, going out west is probably a big reason as to why a lot of the outside noise and media is favoring USC in this matchup. And you know, this is just after people gave them a great nod heading into their game against Oregon.
It was kind of good to hear that last week of everyone kind of having some confidence in us. And I think it's good to be flying under the radar a little bit heading into this one.
Enough dwelling on the past. We need to lock in for this game because there are so many stars.
Yeah, you cannot be more right. There's so much talent in this game. And yeah, hey, I heard that USC quarterback has been one of the best in the nation at least.
Absolutely. Jaden Mayava has put this team in striking distance of the college football playoffs. He has 2,614 yards, followed by an impressive 17 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. His most impressive target has been junior receiver Mekhi Lemon. Lemon has the 3rd most receiving yards in the country with 937. He has the nation's 9th most receptions and 17th most targets that has led to a season total 7 touchdowns.
Well, you can't forget about this team's run game either, Elise. They've been phenomenal in that aspect all season long, though. It's unfortunate for them that it's taken a little bit of a hit so far. USC's Eli Sanders and Waymon Jordan are both out for this game. Sanders is out for the remainder of the season, while Jordan is still recovering from tightrope surgery on his ankle. The team has turned the redshirt freshman King Miller to take the bulk of the carries. Since getting tossed in the starting position, he's averaging 18.8 touches per game and just over 7 yards per carry. Overall, this is a very, very balanced and very good offense, Elise.
It really is. And TJ Hall talked to us about what it takes from Iowa's defensive unit when you go up against an all-around high-performing offense.
Mental focus, high effort, intensity, and then, you know, you just got to be locked in on your keys the whole game. You know, you got to know what your alignment is, your keys are, and your responsibility, and then, you know, that'll take itself from there.
Elise, I know this Trojan defense has a lot of different schemes that they run, so just give us a few key players to look out for on that side of the ball.
Yeah, first we need to talk about linebacker Eric Gentry. Gentry leads the USC defense with 61 tackles just 1 year after suffering a season-ending injury. He also sits atop the team with 7 tackles for loss, 5 forced fumbles, and 3 sacks. However, these numbers piled up at the beginning of the 2025 campaign as he doesn't have a tackle for loss in 5 consecutive games. Still, he will create plenty of production for this group on Saturday. For the DBs, they've allowed 63.2% of passes to be completed against them, but they are 32nd in the country with 9 total interceptions. This charge is led by safety Bishop Fitzgerald. He ties for the nation's best 5 individual interceptions and is 3rd on the team with 49 tackles.
Well, we said it earlier, we'll say it again, Elise. This is a very athletic defense, and Mark Gronowski discussed what needs to be accomplished to play Iowa's best against this style of football.
I think we got to just continue to kind of spread the ball out on laterally against them and try to, I guess, make them make them tackle out in space, try to still keep to Iowa's identity, and we're not going to try and change what we do.
It's a lot to go up against, Elise.
Certainly is. So if this team wants to overcome all of it and change the narrative about this week, the lean into a message has to be emphasized all throughout the team in order to regroup and bounce back.
Fix the effing pipe. So that's one of our sayings. You know, we didn't get the job done last week. All right, this week we got to fix the pipe. You know, do what we got to do to get better, come back strong, and get the job done this week.
Certainly a lot to break down there, and we'll get more into this upcoming matchup soon, but in the meantime, let's talk about this week's kid captain.
Yeah, it's not just breaking down what's going on the field, but off the field as well. Cole Krieger has the amazing story of this week's kid captain.
In the fall of 2022, the once usually excited Blake Bonta started struggling getting out of bed before school. Once at school, Blake started consistently throwing up, leading local doctors to diagnose his sickness as anxiety.
So we started homeschooling him, and then it got a little better. We were having a birthday party at the beginning of 2023 for him, and it was a swimming party, and he started complaining of a very bad headache in the back of his head.
Days later, Blake woke up and couldn't stand up straight. Blake was rushed to the local hospital where MRIs showed excess fluid and a large mass occupying Blake's brain and spinal cord.
And it showed that the tumors had spread to his spine as well. So he had tumors up and down his spinal cord and in his brain.
Blake was diagnosed with metastatic medulloblastoma, a malignant central nervous system cancer. Blake underwent 2 additional surgeries to remove excess brain fluid and a 12-hour surgery to remove the tumor. Following came radiation and 6 months of chemotherapy.
He's an absolute warrior for everything that he's been through. He couldn't reach and grab like a cub, or he had to learn how to walk again from the surgery.
After ringing the bell in 2023, Blake decided he wanted to give back to the Children's Hospital. The 12-year-old started 3 fundraisers and has since raised over $100,000 towards pediatric cancer research.
I don't want kids to spend as much time in the hospital that I did, so I really want to cure that, and that's my life goal too.
Blake is now in the 7th grade, and while he misses playing sports, he loves video games, Legos, and watching movies. From the University of Iowa, Cole Krieger, DITV Sports.
Always amazing to hear those stories right there, Colin.
And especially with a kid that's so impressive as him, raising that much amount of money. I mean, that's always amazing to hear, especially from someone who's gone through it themselves.
But something else I love to learn about is football history, and for that, we will send it over to Professor Cole Krieger in the classroom.
Well, guys, as you can see, the belt is back on my shoulder. While my win this week did come with my decision pick against the Hawks, I had to do what I had to do. This week in the classroom, we have yet another lesson with a new Big Ten team. Pencils and paper out, class. Today we'll learn about Iowa's history with the USC Trojans. This Saturday will be the 11th all-time meeting between the Trojans and Hawkeyes, with USC holding a steady 7-3 lead. And in 4 of USC's 7 wins over Iowa, Iowa has been shut out. Matter of fact, USC has outscored Iowa 306 to 140 combined through their 10 matchups. 8 out of the 10 matchups have been regular season non-conference games. This will be Iowa's first trip to the Coliseum since 1976. However, the last 2 matchups have been in bowl games. In the 2002-2003 season, number 4 USC defeated number 5 Iowa 38-17 in the Orange Bowl. The Trojans were led by former NFL Pro Bowl quarterback Carson Palmer, who threw for 303 yards and a touchdown pass. But in their most recent matchup in the 2019 Holiday Bowl in San Diego, Vikings legends Nate Stanley and Amir Smith-Marset led the way for a 49-24 blowout win. Stanley tossed 2 touchdown passes for 213 yards, as Smith-Marset went for a hat trick, scoring 3 touchdowns in 3 different ways. Smith-Marset had a 98-yard kick return touchdown, a 6-yard rushing score, and a 12-yard receiving touchdown. And get this, all 3 of his scores came in the second quarter. Well, class, that wraps up today's history lesson. While Iowa got the best of USC the last time these schools played, the Trojans have still been dominant over the years. Colin and Elise, back to you guys.
Thank you for that, Cole. Always some cool history.
Absolutely. There is even between 2 teams that are meeting for the first time in conference play. Going back to that bowl game is always exciting to see that. But there's not just action going on in LA and LA Memorial Coliseum. It's all over the country in the Big Ten. So for that, Ryan Paris has our look around the Big Ten.
Today we're going to switch things up a little bit on Around the Big Ten by playing a little game of College Football Playoff Bachelor. Our 5 eligible candidates range from long shot to likely to lock, and we'll get to know each of them over the course of this segment. Let's start in Ann Arbor with our first long shot of the day, the number 18 Michigan Wolverines. They have a 7-2 record this year with remaining games against Northwestern, Purdue, and their hated rival Ohio State. But they also have some red flags. Their 2 losses this season both came against ranked teams. Early in the season, they had an 11-point loss to Oklahoma, and more recently, they lost by 18 to USC when the Trojans weren't ranked. Them making it to the dance comes down to a combination of luck and beating Ohio State for the 5th season in a row. For our other long shot, it's the number 17 USC Trojans. You've already heard a lot about them today, but let's talk resume. They have a 7-2 record with a pair of ranked losses to Notre Dame, a playoff hopeful themselves, and Illinois, who are no longer in the hunt. However, they do have a leg up over Michigan from beating them earlier this season. After Iowa, they have a massive road game against Oregon and then a home game against rival UCLA. Now let's get into the likely tier. Our lone resident here is the number 8 seed Oregon Ducks. The pain of last weekend is still fresh in our minds, but Oregon is very likely to make the CFP if they can win out. Their only loss was the number 2 ranked Indiana, and they have remaining games against Minnesota, USC, and Washington. And now for the cream of the crop, our playoff locks. Let's start with those number 2 Indiana Hoosiers. They have signature wins, including their 63-10 demolition of Illinois when the Illini were ranked 9th. Their 30-20 defeat of Oregon at Autzen Stadium, and most recently, their dramatic game-winning drive against Penn State. Sitting at 10-0, the Hoosiers have remaining games against lowly Wisconsin and Purdue, making it very likely they finish the season undefeated. And finally, the unchallenged, number 1 ranked, world-famous Ohio State Buckeyes. This team has mowed down every opponent so far this season. The only game that finished within 18 points was back in Week 1 against Texas. The Buckeyes jumped into the number 1 spot following that game and haven't looked back since. They have home games against UCLA and Rutgers before heading up to play the team up north in the final week of the season. 5 excellent candidates, guys, but the Big Ten is looking like it will only be a 3 or 4 bid conference. The clock will strike midnight on 1 or more of these team seasons in the coming weeks. Back to you.
Well, thank you for that, Ryan. Lots of cool matchups, lots of cool teams that are right there on the edge of the college football playoffs. And with the season winding down, it's interesting to see who can get in that spot. But even more interesting, in my opinion, is who can get that prediction bell.
Yeah, Colin, I think this is more serious than any Big Ten match. This is serious stuff over here, and I'm not messing around. I need this belt at least 1 more time before the season is over.
Well, you better start flipping coins into a wishing well, because I don't know if that's going to happen for you. I think you're coming back where it belongs. I say it every week, but this is the week it finally happens. But let's give the new girl a shot. Morgan has got our first prediction between Iowa and USC.
As a newcomer on Before the Kickoff, I know a couple of things about Iowa football. The hard truth is it has been a long 4 years since Iowa has been a ranked opponent, and they tend to struggle in the stretch. Therefore, against a strong and well-coached USC team, I don't see Iowa bouncing back after the heartbreaking loss against Oregon. Plus, having the disadvantage of the away crowd, I don't have much hope. But it's not going to be a complete flat tire for the Hawks. I've got Iowa losing in a close game, 24-20.
Iowa is currently 0-3 versus ranked opponents this season, as Morgan mentioned. I hate to bring up bad memories, but last year in November, Iowa went out west to UCLA and laid an egg. This week, Iowa takes on a high-powered offense, which I think Iowa's defense can shut down. I still think the Hawks can finish out the year strong. I have to redeem myself. After picking against the Hawks last week, and for the second week in a row, I'm going against the majority. Give me the Hawks in an upset for the first time this year, 22-16.
Last week, against my better judgment, I picked Iowa over Oregon, but I can't do it again. The college football playoff is all but out of reach now, so what's left to play for? The belt. I haven't won it since the first 2 weeks of the season, but I think it's time we change that. I'm going with my head over my heart. They talk about teams struggling the week after an emotional win, but what about after an emotional loss? While Iowa proved resilient after the losses against Iowa State and Indiana, I don't think that will be the case this time. I'm taking the Trojans 27-17. The ranked win still eludes Iowa.
For the first time this season, I will be breaking my own heart and going against Iowa. The Hawkeyes have played 3 ranked teams, and I was defending them down to the core every single time, but After that loss to Oregon, I just can't do it anymore. Seriously, I have never been more devastated after an Iowa loss than I was last weekend. I mean, guys, it was really bad, but with USC at home and obviously being a ranked team, I have the Trojans taking the win 17-15. I'll give Iowa credit and make it a close game like all of their ranked games have been, but I've learned not to get my hopes up. I just pray it doesn't end in miserable fashion like every other loss has. I don't know if I can take that again. Colin, what about you?
Well, it looks like I'm going with the rest of the crowd. I've got USC winning this ball game 24-17. I think Iowa can win this game. I think they're very capable in this one, but when I look at that USC offense, it reminds me of the likes of Indiana, of Oregon. They're quick, they're snappy, they're athletic, and I just don't know if Iowa's going to be able to keep up with them. Sure, they have the fourth best scoring defense in the country, which if it ends at the number it is right now, 13 points per game, would be the best in the Phil Parker era. I just don't think they'll be able to do just enough to hold on for a victory. Well, at least it seems like Cole's got that same strategy from last week, picking away from the Tide. See if it works out for him again.
I mean, he did make a good point, Colin. He won, but at what cost?
At what cost? Again, I think we still have better odds than he does, the best odds. I think we're sitting right here. But for now, we'll see if that will be the case on Saturday. Thank you, Morgan, Cole, and Ryan, and you for tuning in to Before the Kickoff.
Make sure to check out the Daily Iowans website and YouTube page for all the latest on Hawkeye sports and coverage of this weekend's game. From the University of Iowa, I'm Elise Gann.
And I'm Colin Crothers. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone.